Hi, and welcome to Entourage.com. Today we have the pleasure of speaking with Nino Batista, a famous photographer, who today is going to teach us in about 30 to 40 minutes how he was able to take photography and actually make it into a business, and a very profitable one at that. So welcome, Nino, and I appreciate you being on with us.
Thank you, my friend. Always a pleasure.
So, let's first start by talking a little bit about you before we get into how you turn photography into a business. We hear a lot of celebrities, music celebrities, have like one hit wonders, right? And then they kind of disappear, and we never hear of them again. And then you have the other ones like Jay-Z, and like Puff Daddy, who are able to go in and take their music and turn it into ultimately an empire. So tell us a little bit about how that applies to photography, because it seems like you have a lot of people in photography who are just, shooting out pictures but not really making anything out of it, while others are really profiting and not even as good as some of those other ones that are putting out some of that artwork. So can you tell us a little bit about how you got started and what drifted that change?
You're absolutely right. In terms of, the music comparison makes a lot of sense because photography at the end is an art, and so is music, regardless of what anyone's opinion of any type of music. It's still an art. But when you ignore the business aspect or don't give enough attention to the business aspect, you're wasting your time. That's when you never get anywhere. Now, for me, photography, I grew up with it. My dad was a portrait photographer, high-end weddings and all kinds of different stuff in the 70s and 80s, early 90s. He still does photography now, but now he just does luxury real estate. My point is I grew up with it. I grew up with the business of it. I was there at the studios. I was there listening to him talk about the finances. I was there assisting him. It wasn't just making pretty pictures, it was servicing clients. It was thinking about the standard financial things that people should think about. And it was during a time when photography wasn't buy a $1,500 digital camera and you get all the shots in the back of the camera, you take that 7,000 and you pick one. It was rolls of film, it was planning, it was light metering, it was very deliberate. And not any chump could be a photographer. You could not pretend to be a photographer in 1983. You had to do it, and you had to do it right, or you're toast. You're not going to go anywhere. So that was my background. So when I decided to take it seriously, which my dad thought was funny about 10 years ago, and started getting my own equipment and really focusing on it. I had the background. I knew how to take pictures, and I just had to refine that. But the business part of it, that was the key right there. And that's what I still try to teach people who come to my workshops. That's still what I try to instill to associates of mine. Taking that next level. If you want to be an artist, which a photographer is, you also have to be a bit of a scientist because there's a lot of technical in photography. But you also have to be a business person. And if you just think, I'm in it for the beauty of making images and it's my passion, that's all lovely. But if you don't start thinking business, that's all you're going to do. You're going to take pictures for free on the weekends forever. And that's fine if you have the day job doing making your life okay. Fine, keep it that way. In fact, I tell people, you want to go full-time photography? You have a pretty nice day job that takes care of all your bills and lets you go on vacation. You know what? Don't. Because if you're not ready to take that dive into full-time photographer, which takes a lot of the fun of photography, sucks it out and gets rid of it, if you're not ready for that, don't do it. Don't do it. I can't do corporate job. I can't do desk job. I can't do it. I'll end up fired again. I've done it 20-odd years now. I've tried it a couple of times, face down in the ditch, fired. So I have to do this. This is me. This is who I am. I have to work for myself. So the good and the bad of being a professional photographer, I have to deal with both. But so many people think, oh, okay, well, hell, shoot cars and girls for a living sounds fun. Life is just a party. No, life is business. It's 90% business and 10% shooting. And that's my background was that. It was running the business with my dad, helping him out, seeing it, the good and the bad. So I didn't go in with the blinders on. I didn't go in thinking this is just going to be a fun time the whole time. I went, okay, if I'm going to do this, it's going to be business.
So you did something unique, though, that you took, instead of just taking the regular business route of taking photography and selling your work, which is how most photographers think of photography. They say, I'm going to shoot something, and then eventually I'm going to shoot for money. So that's usually their kind of next phase. But you took that one step further, and you actually went from photographers to paid photographer to now trainer, which ultimately you've learned there's much more money in training than there is in just paid work. So can you speak a little bit about how you've made that transition and how successful or profitable has that been?
Well, what's interesting is that I think to clarify, I think there can be more money in training than shooting commercial work. And in my particular case, what happened was about over a year ago, that summer, work had taken a downturn, which, that's how it is when you own a business, it goes up and down. And work had kind of slowed, but we had a very good 6 months. But I was like, okay, instead of just riding this low and just kind of floating for a while, let's see what else we can do. People have been asking about training, about classes, about workshops. So I thought, let's have a go. I experimented. I scheduled 2. And man, they filled. And suddenly I thought, okay, I cautiously scheduled a couple more. Well, long story short, 350, 400 students later and 30 classes later, a year later, it is now a big part of what I do. And I'm also partnering and bringing in photographers from all over the country, all over the world, to come to Houston, to co-mentor with me, to host them here. It's kind of exploded. So I think the part of that is that I love talking and teaching. I have no issue with it. There are extremely talented people who can't teach for crap, and then there are people who love to do it and connect well and can teach 95% of the people you put in front of them. And I love teaching. I have no issue with it. So it's not an issue of, okay, I'm a skilled photographer and that's why I'm a teacher. No, I think it's because I genuinely love doing the teaching. So it's expanded and it's grown. And yes, now it's become, I don't know exactly what the percentage is, but roughly half of my income is the workshops. And photography is continuing to grow, but the workshops are also getting at a higher caliber repeatedly. In fact, we're going to Hawaii in November for a beach workshop. We're really expanding this, and we're going national with it, if you will. Actually, we kind of have already, but we really are doing it now. So my point is, it can be. There are people, and I'll tell you this now, photographers I know who have attempted to give workshops and then quit. They say, I can't teach people. I can't stand in front of a group of people and talk. I can't help someone learn. I get too frustrated. I'm too wrapped up in what I do. I can't give of myself to teach somebody. So that comes naturally to me. I don't have to think about it. And suddenly it became something profitable. So I thought, well, I don't want to be just the workshop guy, but I'm not going to turn away business. And then the sort of halo effect of getting that business and teaching people is my name is spreading further to people who otherwise wouldn't know I was there. Because my business, my clients, the people who hire me are not photographers. I get hired by clients, commercial clients. But photographers are paying me to teach them. And I'm giving them a proper learning experience. I'm not just bringing them over, come shoot whatever I have, and I have an ego about it and I don't really care. No, I'm teaching people because they come back. And so, yeah, it's become successful for me because I really like to. It's not easy to teach. I'm not saying I'm a badass. I'm saying I have no shame and I'll talk to anybody.
I hear you. And how do you determine the cost for workshops? So you started this kind of fresh, not a lot of people were doing it. You didn't really see kind of a competition around it, which kind of made it hard and easy at the same time. So tell me a little bit about how do you determine what you charge your fellow photographers? Because that's got to be a fine line where someone's like, well, are you profiting from me or are you really teaching me?
Yeah, no, exactly. And there's no question that has become a sensitive subject to some people. I'm not going to say any names, but there are some folks in town and in the area in Texas who have accused me of exploiting photographers. That's because they've never come to a class. They don't understand. But no, what I do is you can talk to my partners here. The approach I have is I literally try to make the cheapest fee I can to where I'm getting a little bit of money for my time, make it a little bit profitable, but to try to cover costs. Like we're going to Hawaii, okay? We're having a 10-bedroom beach house that we're doing where all the photographers can stay with all of us, including the models that we'll have and all that. You can imagine that's not $200 to sign up because there's a ton of costs on that. But we try to keep it reasonable. Yeah, I'd like to make some money, and I definitely do every time, but it allows me to invest back into the classes. Because I've done 30-odd classes in a year, and that's too many. What I'm doing now is ramping up the caliber of the class, but less often. So rather than low cost classes twice a month, we are trying to get to where we're doing 6 to 10 a year. But they're all higher caliber. They're in Hawaii. We're talking about Puerto Rico. We're talking about some Colorado mountain retreat type of workshops. The locations that make people want to go out there just for the hell of it, but also learn about photography and get some unique shots that they otherwise wouldn't get. So we're trying to expand that and do it less frequently. but a higher caliber class. I don't know if that sort of makes sense, but that's kind of one of the goals. So I don't think I can please everybody. Some photographers are going to see me as exploitive no matter what, and that's nothing I can do about that. But those who've come out, and the more people